A musicologist and researcher, Eric Crawford found his calling in researching and preserving Gullah spirituals. In his book, Gullah Spirituals, Crawford traces Gullah Geechee songs from their beginnings in West Africa to their height as songs for social change and Black identity in the 20th century American South. I'm Holly Jackson. Join us as we bring you powerful stories from both new and established Southern authors as we sit by the river. Hi there. It is such a beautiful day here at our Low Country studio here on the waterfront in Beaufort. Beautiful Beaufort. We appreciate you tagging along with us today. And this is our love letter to Southern writing. Here we invite authors from South Carolina, new and established, also some from across the Southeast. And today we are pleased to have Dr. Eric Crawford. He is the author of Gullah Spirituals, and this is The Sound of Freedom and Protest in the South Carolina Sea Islands. Beautiful cover. I'm always impressed by what makes the cover. So I really like this. Thank you so much for coming to Beaufort. I know you're no stranger to this area because this is where so much of the research happened for the book.
Yes.
But I'm going to let you do the explaining. So tell us a little bit about what's inside and what readers can gather from this.
Well, you know, the Sound Island spirituals are really the foundation for Negro spirituals. And so when I first discovered that this a document called the Slave Songs of the United States, this 1867 document, really is the beginning for Negro spirituals. And those who studied will always quote that same book, was from here. And so my quest in 2006 or so was to figure out all those songs still being done here, and have they changed over time. And this has been over 150 years, of course, you know. And so when I came here, I discovered, yes, they're still here. And I found 4 main singers on the island, Dick and James Garfield Smalls, Minnie Gracie Gatson, Rosa and Joseph Murray, who were singing these wonderful songs. And so I became their sort of their interviewer, I guess, and just really kind of learning about these songs and why they kept these songs alive after centuries, you know, really.
Tell us a little bit about your background, where you come from, and why this interest and passion grew inside of you.
I'm an old piano player, and I was at Norfolk State University, and I had a master's student, Miranda Rice, who was doing this thesis on Gullah spirituals in the public schools. And I said, Gullah, what's that word, Gullah, you know? And so as I began to look into this term and word, I realized how truly foundational, how important it was just in general to the American story, you know, from civil rights to slavery, of course, and even now. And so for me, it became really a sense of finding my own past, my own cultural past. I recall going to my mother or my grandmother's church in the country, and old white church, and hearing these songs and hearing the tapping of the feet or the clapping, and hearing this word Geechee, not knowing what it meant. But you know, when I first came to the island, I went to this small structure. It was called a praise house, and the older members say prayer house, where they would go to. And I heard James Garfield Smalls begin singing, and I could quickly think back to my own childhood and hearing those same songs, and I realized I'm at the home of where they came from.
Must have been a neat feeling.
Oh yes, it was. It made sense.
Right.
Certainly.
I was really fascinated whenever I read that you attended at HBCU, but all throughout your time there, you never heard anything about the Gullah culture.
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
You know, that's scary to say that, but yes, I think, and not probably up until 2000, Gullah or Geechee was sort of a badge of being ashamed of one's past. Even the actor Ron Day says that his mother would say to them, "Don't speak Gullah." It meant that you weren't educated. And so I think that was the case. I was in the choir, and I would hear these renowned choir directors who would say, well, for this word, we'll say duh or dat, or we'll say water, but there seemed to be no kind of a reason why.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to interpret this language that we now know has certain rules, but back then, to them, it was just, let's make it sound this way. And over time, understanding how important this West African language is and culture is, I became fascinated with, can I go back and in fact, in the book, at the end, there's a song book, and I asked Ron Days to write 5 songs as they might have been done by a slave in pure Gullah, because I think that's an important language that we seem to omit. The Fifth and Jubilee Singers did so much for us in terms of singing these songs in the 1800s and making them really palatable to white audiences. But they used standard English because, of course, that was understood.
Mm-hmm.
And they discarded that language. And so my quest now is, let's kind of reconnect the old Gullah Geechee language to these spirituals. And sorry.
Yeah, so I guess what may have been, as I was reading the initial visit to St. Helena, you decided to go to one of these churches,
Yes.
expecting to hear these songs,
Yes.
and did not.
Yeah.
So, again, why do you think? You mentioned the shame that may have gone around? Do you think that's what it was?
I think for many churches now, gospel has become sort of a norm now, and because once, in fact, a scholar once said, Alan Lomax said, once you had choirs now, formal choirs who would sing, the congregation now would sit and listen. No longer was there a communal, whose side are you leaning on? Response by them, leaning on the Lord's side.
Mm-hmm.
Now the choir was performing.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was no longer a need for a spiritual, because a spiritual is built on a leader and response. Now we had a performance, and now I'm sitting there. And so many of the old singers will say in church, there is no longer a need for us to sing the old songs. We have professional singers now.
Mm-hmm.
And so those songs were no longer being done.
But eventually you did find that place.
I did.
And tell me about that experience.
And primarily, most of the singers are from Ebenezer Baptist Church. They have found a way to still cling to those old songs. And so our 3 singers here are from that church. And so they found a way to still include those old songs in their everyday Sunday service. And because of that, many visitors are said, if they ask, where can I hear these old songs or hear an old service, they'll be told to go to Ebenezer for that.
And I'm really excited that we have something very special to our guests today. And tell us who you've brought and why you've brought them and what they're going to do for us.
Well, I think the best way to truly enjoy these songs is to hear them being done, especially live, of course, but to hear them being done, because then you can really hear the pathos and you can sense the shared history and the background of how these songs were first forged. As I say in my book, there was nothing pretty about slavery. And when you can hear these songs, you can instantly hear the sorrow, the pain, and yet the victory of those who were enslaved.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you would introduce who's here with us, and they can just come on up and we'll get started.
We have Minnie Gracie Gatson.
And I know one of these people is very special to you because you basically lived in their backyard.
I
for a little while.
lived in her backyard in this trailer, and
that was your research process.
That was my research process, and it was my ethnographic experience there. And she would come every morning with the best food and fish. And Rosa Murray is here with her husband, Deacon Joseph Murray, and they have taught me so much. In fact, every time I'm with them, I learned something new. For example, there's a popular clap. It's called a 3 + 3 + 2 clap, or a Charleston clap. I was doing, for years, just having the best time. Dick and Mary says to me, you know, Eric, the men don't do that.
Uh-oh.
They do a single clap. So all this time, and suddenly he tells me this. But anyway, so I believe they're going to each sing a song. I believe we'll
That's
start
wonderful.
with Tracy doing her famous Adam in the Garden.
You want me to do Adam?
I think, yeah.
I think
Adam
that's great.
is a shouting song that is probably the most famous one because it's sort of a story of Adam who discovers he's now a naked.
Mhm.
And so the song goes, "Oh, Eve, where's Adam?" And response, "Adam in the garden picking up leaf." And so when you would do this shouting, this dance, counterclockwise, and you would move down as if you're picking up these leaves.
Okay,
And so she'll sing that, which is a song that she's known for,
right.
if she's in mind.
And we'll notice that we get it louder and faster, right?
Well, if she gets
if
the
she does,
spirit,
we'll see what happens.
we'll see.
Okay. Well, I'm
start that
excited
first?
about
Can you
this.
see her?
All right, so you do whatever you need to do, and it comes
I move-
time
I move
in
right.
terms of leading or getting
Oh, no,
involved.
no, she's
Okay. All right, let's do it.
Oh, Eve, where's Adam? Oh, Eve, oh,
Adam in the garden picking up leaves.
picking up leaves.
Adam in the garden picking up leaves.
Said I'm mad and I'm so glad.
Adam in the garden picking up leaves.
This a soul he thought he had.
Adam in the garden picking up leaves.
Mind my mother how she walk on the floor.
Adam in the garden picking up leaves.
Feet got slip and your soul got lost.
Adam in the garden picking up leaves.
Went in the valley one day to pray.
Adam in the garden picking up leaves.
So got happy I stayed all day.
Adam in the garden picking up leaves.
Mind my mother how she walk on the floor.
Adam in the garden picking up leaves.
Feet got slip and your soul got lost.
Adam in the garden picking up leaves.
Said, oh, Eve.
Where Adam? Oh, Eve. Yeah. Adam in the garden picking up leaves.
Picking up leaves.
Adam in the garden picking up leaves.
Went in the valley one day to pray.
Adam in the garden picking up leaves.
So got happy I stayed all day.
Adam in the garden picking up leaves.
Said, oh, Eve.
Where's Adam? Oh, Eve. Adam in the garden picking up leaves.
Thank you. Beautiful. Was there another we wanted to share?
You want to do, let's do Rosa, and she's going to do, just keep on. I'm bound for Mount Zion.
Okay. Said I'm bound for Mount Zion, way out on the hill. Oh, I'm bound for Mount Zion, way out on the hill. Oh, I'm bound for Mount Zion, way out on the hill. Oh, if anybody make it, surely I will. Oh, surely I will. 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 If my mother made it, surely I will. Surely I will. Surely I will. If my mother made it, surely I will. Surely I will. Surely I will. Oh, surely I will. Surely I will. Oh, surely I will. Surely I will. If my father made it, surely I will. Oh, surely I will. Surely I will. If my pastor made it, surely I will. Oh, surely I will. Surely I will. If my deacon made it, surely I will. Surely I will. Surely I will. Oh, said I'm bound for my Zion. Oh, way out on the hill. Yes, I'm bound for my Zion. Way out on the hill. Yes, I'm bound for my Zion. Way out on the hill. If
song, which to me speaks to the Gullah language. It's called "Hey Neighbor, Look a Day." And it's in pure Gullah, pretty much. And,
Pure.
and the Deacon will explain its origins.
Okay.
Okay, let me explain it then before I start to blow it a little bit. On the plantation where I was born and raised up at, they had prayer house on them plantation. And all the time people used to have prayers every Sunday, every Tuesday, and every Thursday night. But when it comes a certain time of the year, when it comes down in the month of December, they used to have a prayers called watch night. They all gather to that classroom, or prayer house, whatever you want to call it. And they sing and they praise God from the time they meet at 10 o'clock that night until day broad clean the next morning. And when they start to clean and the sun coming up, then somebody will catch a song in that classroom. And this is the song they catch. Hey, neighbor, look a day. 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 The clean, the clean, the clean, the clean, the clean, the clean. Eh, neighbor, look a day. Eh, neighbor, look a day. Eh, neighbor, look a day. Eh, neighbor, look a day.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This
As
is
you
such
saw,
a
he was
treat.
doing a single clap. And
Right,
then
I
he did a double
noticed.
clap.
I noticed. Right.
And
What
now
did you?
what?
You know what to do now, right?
At this late date now, 9
Right.
years later.
Right. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us. We really appreciate that. This is
Wonderful.
quite a treat. It's one thing to talk about it, but a whole other experience
And
to
just-
just watch it.
Feeling that, you know,
Right.
and you can
Yes.
tell that it goes beyond notes to really their lived experience and a passion for it. It just comes across.
I wanted to make sure I touched on something that I heard you say in some of my research of you doing a presentation. Fascinating. You talked about a secret code that can be